All right, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Friday. Great to be here once again. All right, so today is January 12th, 2024. So I'm going to get started in just a second and take you through some administrational items. But until I get to there, just go ahead and feel free to type in your stocks and caps. Hope everybody's having a good new year, and we'll get to take a look at those. So we'll look at ETFs and, of course, any stocks you want to look at. Now, the purpose of Stock Analysis Friday is for us to really analyze a handful of stocks and come up with a lot of good quality trades that you can take either later today or Monday. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to run over and take a look at the administrational items. All right, so first thing I want to cover, of course, are the risks involved in trading. Like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand. We want you to be aware of the risks and, of course, protect yourself against them. And one of the ways you do that, of course, is funding your account, your trading account with risk capital. That's money you can afford to risk in the markets. A lot of people don't do that, and that's a real good starting point. It will reduce the stress you feel when you actually begin to trade. The other way we protect ourselves is calculating our trade size, which is also known in the industry as our position size. And in doing so, basically what we're doing is we're looking ahead. If the trade, in case the trade fails, you know how much money you could possibly lose on that trade. And of course, we always want our winners to outpace our losers. So that's all part of the risk control formula. And then finally, we don't know your personal situation, but let's hope you do. And let's hope whoever manages your money certainly does. So your financial advisor. So please run by any of the stocks that we do find good today. Run that by those folks and make sure they're suitable for you. That's really important because everybody's risk tolerance is different and situation, of course, is different as well. And then finally, past performance does not guarantee future performance. So we deal in a realm of probability. So you have to realize, of course, that when you trade the markets, and always use risk control. All right, if you need a couple books to help you on money management and risk control, I've got the formulas in 2 books, Money Management for Traders and A Trader's Money Management System. I'm working on my brand new book called The Art of Trading, 2nd edition, and that should be coming out this year. I think that's going to be the best book I've ever written. We're putting a lot of new information in there, and of course, a lot of new information since our first book came out of 2008 on our software. So that'll be in there as well. All right, Elliott Wave Techniques, published by McGraw-Hill. That's a book on the Elliott Wave, which is a form of technical analysis. And then the Survival Guide for Traders, basically using today's technology, especially broadband, enabling us to trade anywhere really in the world. But you want to have a good reference book, and that's it, because that's going to guide you of where you need to go to set up your business like a professional hedge fund. All right, we're going to be looking at charts using our software. We've got charting software, we've got scanners, and we got risk control software. You've got to have tools that give you a quick indication of what's going on in the market. Like I always say, you should, if you have the right tools and you know how to use them, you should in about 20 seconds to 40 seconds know approximately whether you should be long, short, or out of the market. And once you master your tools, it's really that quick. Then it's a matter of looking at charts. And you'll see us doing that today using our software tools. But risk control is very important. We're not going to be calculating trade size today, nor are we going to be using the scanners. But those are available for those that, of course, look for stocks during the weekends or during the day when they day trade. And then finally, give us a like, subscribe, and share. If you wouldn't mind doing that, we would appreciate that. Apparently, that helps our ratings. All right, let's open up the charting platform here. A quick rundown on what you're looking at here. This is NinjaTrader, and in NinjaTrader, we have our software installed. Now, I have 3 charts loaded on the platform, and the reason I do that, it's called multiple time frame analysis. And on the far left is our 60-minute chart. This gives us the intraday quick look or the short-term look at whatever we're analyzing. And then we've got the daily chart. So every price bar here represents a full day. This is a very common chart when you go online and look at a website or open up a magazine or something. Normally they have the daily charts in there. For day traders, you're not going to use that. Of course, you're going to use a much smaller time frame, and we'll show you that a little later on towards the end of our presentation today. All right, so this is the intermediate look, and then on the far right, we have a weekly chart where every price bar represents a full week, and this is a longer term look. So why do we do this? Well, it helps us get an idea of what time frame is best to trade, because we have it all in front of us. It also allows us, no matter what time frame we pick, for us to see what's going on a long-term, intermediate, and short-term aspect. So obviously, when we look at the short-term chart on the left, we expect this to happen before this, which should happen before this. So it kind of helps us time our entries and exits based on these three aspects of the market we're looking at. And also, too, the market that we're looking at is all the same market, right? So in this case, I have an ETF called GBTC, which is the Bitcoin ETF. All right, so that's kind of what we're looking at. This colored rainbow window up top here, that's our scanners. We won't be using those today because you're going to be giving me stocks. On the chart itself, we have pyramid trading points, which we use for entries, exits, and basically what they're looking at is trend trading patterns in the market, taking into account not only fractal patterns, but also the momentum that created them. Below that is the OWL optimum wave locator, which measures momentum and helps us count the Elliott wave. Then we have the PTF indicator here, and these are all acronyms. That stands for precision trend filter. And basically when that's green, we expect higher highs. When it's red, we expect lower lows. When it's yellow, it's in the neutral category. And then the trend line master, which measures the trend and gives us a quick color of the trend. And then the emotional reader index, which is a fear and greed index. Okay, so that's loaded. All that software is loaded on each of the charts. And that is the software that we sell here at appliedrealitytrading.com. All right, so let me just take and analyze GBTC. I see some stocks coming in right now, which is great. All right, I always start out with one of them like GBTC. So let's take a look at that. So we've had a tremendous run on GBTC, right? It started back in, like most of the stocks, back in late September, early October, and then just basically bolted right up. And we're kind of at this particular point due for some form of profit taking, which is a pullback. Now with GBTC, using our indicators in our software and fib retracements and Elliott wave and things of that nature, what we feel will probably happen when we get this pullback, and it's a little too early to say we're in a definitive pullback on GBTC. And the reason I say that is because usually the profit taking is represented by a red owl on the primary or intermediate time frame. And we do not have that yet. But I went ahead and drew them in case it does turn red, to give you an idea of where the target could be. And that's this area right here in the boxed area. And so if it pulled back today and made a high yesterday on this price bar here, then the fib pullback area between 38.2 to 61.8% equivocates into a price of $33.80 down to $27.79. So that would be a normal area for the market to pull back for profit taking. And then once it gets here, all right, the PTF will be, or the owl will be red. And then when it turns back to the green side, then we look for the next leg to the upside, and that can be also an additional trade. Now, if you're trading this nice leg up here, notice the pyramid trading points, which are these triangular pyramids here that we use for entries and exits. We go in here, stop here, and trail them right up under the new ones that form. So your stop would be right here, okay? So that's where you would get out of this if it goes into a correction. And what the pyramids are designed to do is try to keep you in that trend as long as possible. Now, if you're concerned that this is beginning of the pullback and you want to use a pyramid on a shorter time frame, you could certainly do that. That would give you an exit a little higher than here. And maybe you could use that for scaling out and so forth. That's how you can use the different time frames to help you manage the trade. So that's where we are in GBTC. Long term, overall, we expect much more highs in GBTC. I imagine our forecast basically is for it to take out the $60 mark. So we think it has about another basically 100% up to the upside. We think it'll get way above 60 but we do think you're going to have to endure a pullback, which is not a bad thing, because if you get out here on this pyramid here and then get back in here, then you'll be ready for the next leg up. If you prefer to just trade this and leave it alone long term, then you'd want your stop way down on the pyramid for the weekly chart. That way it would survive any profit taking that could occur. So the market is all about managing your trade, especially when it is successful. And the idea is, do you take profits? Do you endure the pullback and then go ahead and just stay in the market? Because in order for you to get to a real high price, you're going to have to do that. All right. So the market is a lot of give and take, give and take. And the idea is the key thing of being successful in trading the markets is knowing when you have a profit taking pullback versus a major change in trend. And so we're looking at this as a profit taking pullback down to $33 to $27 before it resumes back to the upside. So we're very bullish on crypto, but we certainly are expecting a pullback. And I think probably in most stocks, we're thinking that about now because everything's been running up quite a bit. All right, let's jump in and start hitting these here today. Okay, so Al, how you doing, Al? All right, AUTL. Let's see what's cooking on AUTL. All right, so, all right, I don't know if you're long on these or you're thinking of getting long. I don't know if we looked at these before. ALTL is looking really actually very bullish right now. But again, like all the stocks, look at the run up you've had on this since October. So all these stocks they could go a little higher, but at this particular point, like I always say, is it better to get in here or here? And the answer is here. So when you get in up here, it's actually a more riskier trade than if you try to get in early, because then you could have some type of profit taking correction and get stopped out before it resumes. Now, if you're trading this long term here, okay, again, you'd have to have your stop pretty far back. So I would wait for a pullback on this that will eventually come. We're starting to see a little bearish divergence in the 60-minute, and we've had an extended owl on the 1 minute. So I'm anticipating a pullback on this. If you're long on this, you might want to put your stop at that pyramid and lock in some profits if it pulls back. So that's AUTL. I'm not going to recommend that to anybody right now because, again, it's run up quite a bit. And I think at this particular point, you got to be careful for a pullback. All right, let's take a look at your next one, ZIM. And again, when you have the right trading tools, do you see how fast you can analyze the markets really quickly, right? All right, so here is ZIM. Now, we got a couple things going on the short-term time frames. You got bullishness, but you got a red PTF sitting over here on the long-term chart. So the red PTF is basically indicating that the bottom's not in yet. It doesn't mean you can't get a profit taking in the opposite direction. Okay, in this case, it would be up from all the short sales, right? So let's figure out if this goes green, then we're going to probably be in a fairly long-term correction to the upside. There may be some profits we could make here if the target is good enough. Okay, so we're looking at a target of $31 to $46, and then we're at $14.45. Guess what? That's 100% return if we just make it to the lower level of an anticipated big move up. So this is looking actually really good, even though I would consider this on the weekly chart a counter trend trade. It is a major impulsive wave on the lower time frames. So you're probably at this particular point would have been better off getting in right when this pyramid told you to here. Okay, so you're a little bit up. All right, we've got green PTFs. You may get a little bit of a pullback, but you also certainly could go higher on this before you get that. And because you have 100% return, I'm going to put this on the buy list. This is looking really excellent. Okay, so I think this is one you can go long on and use the pyramid right down here for your stop. Okay, so that's going to be a low of around 951. Okay, pretty far away, but that's the situation. Now, if the stop is so far away that your trade size is not large enough, then use an option. Okay, buy a call option simply. You can do a simple option play. You can also do a complex option play if you're really good at options. But a simple call, buying a call And I would make it a good 6 months out, because that target is quite far away. So maybe even a little bit longer if you can, but not shorter than 6 months. Okay. So that would be my guess on that. Probably a call option makes sense as well. All right. Good one. All right. Let's take a look at your next one, UEC, and see what's cooking on this bad boy. All right. UEC, again, I think at this particular point, it's too high. The chart, the PTF is also bearish now on the 60-minute chart. So I would anticipate the pullback. So if you're long on this, you just simply you use your pyramids. So the pyramids, once again, awesome job of keeping you in this trend, but you gotta, if it reverses, you gotta get out. And when it reverses, you're probably talking about, if it did it today, coming down almost to 572 to 447. So that's quite significant. You might even get one more high on that. Let me just see if the PTF is up. It turned green on the 60 minutes. So probably a few more highs left on this, but you are getting bearish divergence in the owl on the 1 minute time frame. So I would not like to go in here, because again, is it better to get in here or here? And the answer is here, right? So I would wait for the pullback and then look at it again. And that's UEC. All right, let's take a look at Uber, UBER. All right, so not surprising, all these stocks have been really running up quite a bit. So more highs coming on Uber according to the weekly chart, the green PTF, pretty strong owl on the weekly chart. Looks like we've got a yellow PTF now on the daily, but still a green one on the short term. So remember, short-term charts happen before these, and before these. So when you look at this with a green PTF here, pretty strong here, we're probably not quite ready for a pullback, but this is starting to hook up. So I think probably when we get maybe up to maybe, I don't know, 66 to 70, we probably could get ready for some form of retracement. So I don't think I would do that, because we're pretty close to the upper limits at this particular point. So I wait on that. Wait for a pullback on these and then look at them again. UBER. All right, NU. Let's take a look at NU. All right, so NU on the weekly chart, not that much history, goes back to what? Beginning of 2022. All right, so we've had a pretty significant move up, and what's kind of interesting here is, looks like, let's go ahead and draw some fib extensions here and see if we're already at the target. And it looks like we're pretty darn close. So I don't think I would do this one either. I think if anything, you're at the target now, I'd probably put my stops, get my stops fairly close. And because I would think a reversal could be coming. So maybe under this $8 mark, or you could put it under the pullback on the 60-minute chart, about 885. Okay. So that's kind of where I'd be on that. Not good for a new entry. All right. CCJ. Let's take a look at CCJ and see what's cooking there. All right. So CCJ, we've got some previous drawings. Let me just take those off. All right. This one pulled back, now went higher. And well, we haven't looked at this in quite some time. So let's take that off here. All right. So still moving up into a wave 3. So let's just look at this weekly chart for a moment over here. So you can see how it pulled up in 2022, and we had a few profit takings. See the zigs and the zags, but overall, we have the highest owl on the weekly chart now that we've had for the entire, basically, history of this stock for the most part. So we're in a major wave 3. All right. Now we're already have a number of pyramids here. Looks like we're still going higher. We've got a green PTF here. But again, how much higher is it going to go before it begins to top? So let's bring up the short-term time frame and see if we can get some fib accurate areas on that. So let me just enlarge this. Let's go here. Looks like this is higher than here now, but maybe we can go inside and get an idea of the smaller count inside the larger one. So let's just take a look here and see if we go here. So we're already kind of in the target area, though it looks like it's going to go to the upper limits. So I'm going to say probably getting up around 54, 55, and we're at 50, before we see a retracement. So again, I consider this chasing a market, and I don't do that. All right, so I would not do this one, even though it's still bullish. Now, if you're in it, you can still enjoy the ride. All right, so let's take a look at CMC. This one looks pretty bracketed on the daily chart. You can see the roly-poly movement here, up and down here. Might even have a pennant forming at some point here. Green PTF is indicating eventually we should break above these highs here. But I think if you went into it now, all right, and you drew your kind of pennant like this, I would wait for a break in the pennant and then go with it. But you're probably looking at a high probably of around 60. And by the time it breaks the pennant, it's going to be 55. Your stop has got to be down at least here. So your risk to reward, I don't think is going to be quite there for that. So I don't think I would do that one either. You know, a lot of stock picking is really rolling up your sleeves and actually looking at all the markets like we're doing now. And it takes time and it takes a lot of effort, but that's the game, okay? You have to do this. You have to look through a lot of stocks. It's a numbers game before you find ones that are right for a new entry. All right, so big run up on this. And again, the PTF on the 60 now is now green. So it's not done going up. But the problem here is, and you're in a major wave 3 is, you know, is it better to get in here or here? All right. And again, I consider this chasing the market. Yeah, you might miss a little bit of movement to the upside, but I have found that more often than not, when you chase markets, you usually end up at a loss because it goes into a correction and stops you out. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. All right, DT. And not surprising that we're seeing a lot of these already run up. I mean, look at the market and how great it's been since October. All right. All right. So let's see what we got here. All right. So we don't have too much history here. We had a big move up, a big pull down, and this pull down went above any wave 1 up. So it's not a 4, maybe a 2. All right. Could be moving back up strong. You had a really nice strong move up in the last 5 to 10 days off this bottom here. And you can see that on the 60-minute chart. And it's not done. But again, you know, at this particular point, is it better to get in here or get in after the last hook? Because usually after the last hook, you get the profit taking. And we're kind of due for that as well. So again, a little bit of Russian roulette if you jumped in here. I don't chase markets, like I've said 100 times before. So this would not be one I would take. All right. CPNG. All right, let's take a look at this one. Okay, so this one's a little bit more moderate in terms of not chasing a market. Let's see if there's any opportunity here. You've got some movement here to the upside on the 60-minute chart. You've just neutralized the bearish pyramid here. You still got an active pyramid on the long-term chart and a red owl there. Here's the way I would play that. I would be looking at this, and there's not a lot of history here. So the best, you know, you can really hope for at this time is, from a technical standpoint, okay, is maybe a retracement at best up to 32, which is not too bad. That's a double your money situation. However, okay, you don't really have a turnaround quite yet on the weekly chart, nor do you really have it on the daily chart. You've got a move up on the 60-minute chart, but you haven't broken above some of the key levels that you need to break above to really warrant a new trade to the upside here. So I would say if it breaks above 17, which is this high here, all right, that might neutralize, maybe not. Looks like maybe you have to get above the $20 mark before you neutralize any bearishness on the weekly chart. So I would hold off on this. You can put this on a watch list in case it does. But again, it's not one of my favorites simply because there's not a lot of history to get an accurate long-term Elliott wave count. All right, and that's CPNG. All right, so thank you, Al. Whoops, forgot to show your marks up there. Okay, let's go, Frank, to you. All right, GBTC we looked at already. Let's take a look at USO. And I think you were here for that, so you probably saw that one already. So on USO here, let's open up that weekly chart just a moment, because this is what we want to pay attention to, is this move here. So we had a nice move off the bottom back in the year 2020. All right, so if we go back there, you can see that nice, beautiful move up here and a correction, profit-taking correction, not unusual. And now we're having a move up, all right? And sometimes we see this in a wave 5. You get this zigzaggy type of move, but eventually it takes out the high of wave 3. So if this is a 3 on this new move up since April of 2020, this could be a 4, and the 5 would be sitting up in here. Now, I drew these fib retracements in here from this low to this low to get an inflection point of where a normal pullback should meet some resistance in the selling and turn back possibly to the upside. All right, it's not unusual for it to keep going down, form a double bottom, and then go as well. That's always possible. So that's the situation with that. In terms of a target, let's take a look at that. Okay, let me grab my drawing tools and use some Fibonacci extensions. So basically, if we run it up from wave 2 up to here, we're probably talking around 99 to 125 on this. Now, that forecast is only if this bottom holds. All right, so we've got to kind of see some bullishness come back in as well. So if you're long on this and you got in long early, keep that stop at the bottom. All right, if that stop gets taken out, you do want to leave a long trade. You do not want to be long if that gets taken out. However, all right, let's see if we get above this high here, then move your stop here. And then you can start using the pyramids when you get closer to the target zone. All right, because new pyramids will form at that point. All right, so that's kind of my take on I guess, long-term I'm bullish. Short-term, we still might see a little volatility. All right, we've got a fairly extenuated red owl here. So we may start to see a turnaround here. Now, if this is the bottom of the pullback, then if we get a higher high, that's a good situation there too. So maybe if you're not in it, you want to try a trade here, wait until it gets above this previous high. All right, and that mark, let me tell you what that is. That mark there, the high on that price bar there is 71.10. So if it breaches that, gets to 71.11, $71.11, then that would warrant a long trade. And you may even get a pyramid forming in there before that happens. In terms of the corrective situation, A, B, C, C looks pretty nice in proportion to A. So that's a possibility that we do have a good bottom in this move down. So USO, wait till it breaches there. Let's take a look at that. Let's put that on the watch list, okay? If you're not already in it. If you're in it, keep that stop at the bottom. All right, TLT is the ETF for bonds. And TLT has come up quite a bit. My concern on this one is that we still have a red PTF on the weekly chart on the far right. So I consider any movement up here kind of like that profit-taking thing I talk about. And it's a correction in a long-term trend that's not done going down yet. So that's the way I would look at this. So that doesn't mean you can't trade it to the long side. You just got to use a really short time frame. So if you looked at the 60-minute chart here, if we open that up, where every price bar represents an hour of data, notice the great shorts to the downside with all the pyramids here. All right, then you had some opportunities on some of the moves up, but look at all the pyramids up on this. So if you traded this time frame, which is why I like to look at all three to see what the best opportunity is, this is not bad. Now, you have a green PTF here. So after this subsides, this is starting to turn green. We no longer have a short in place because this pyramid has been taken out. So you could either wait now for a new pyramid to form, which would be what I would do, simply because at this particular point, all right, you may have one more hook to the downside. So you don't want to go in too early. Let's wait until we have a failed hook and then a move up, opportunity for a pyramid, higher highs and higher lows for the last leg up, and you could go there. All right, now what's interesting though is this is not a buy and hold. This is a short-term trade using the short-term time frame. And the reason I say that is because on the long-term chart, the PTF is red. So therefore, we're only our target is only into the 106 to 121 at best. And I think it would be best if you traded either the 60-minute or the daily time frame, okay? Preferably the 60 when it in this one is giving you a nice indication. All right, so again, that's why I use 3 time frames. It gives me a good overall view and short-term view of what's going on, and that is TLT. All right, so let's keep going here. Eleanor, how are you? Thank you, Frank, for those. CLS. All right, let's see what we got cooking. All right, so CLS, again, moving up nicely. It should continue to move up long-term, but again, like the entire stock market at this point, we're a little bit stretched here. So you're probably going to see a pullback. And let me just draw in some possible retracements areas if we get that pullback. Let me just drop that a little lower there like that. So it looks to me, when the pullback comes, we should, if it came, in the following week and we put a high in last week, then we should see a pullback between the 2 blue lines on the center chart. And that would be around $22.62 down to $17.83. So if that doesn't bother you and you want to just stay with the trade, fine. Okay, make sure your stop is below those blue lines. If you want to take profits on this move we've had since April in this stock, then you'd be out already on this pyramid here. Okay, so if you're trading it long term, your stop would be right here under this pyramid, which would be $25.83. So how you manage that is up to you. But after the pullback, you more than likely will get more highs according to the long-term chart. But we're all due for a pullback on these. All right, so you have to decide how you want to manage that. And that's CLS. All right, let's take a look at HWM. HWM, and I think this is aerospace, right? All right, so this is an aerospace stock, and let me just see what's cooking on here. All right, so we've got a little bit of bearish divergence you can see on the owl here. What that means is when you've had an extenuated bearish divergence can last for a long time. But when you have it, all right, you've got to look at the trend and see how mature it is. And it's fairly mature. Okay, I don't know, Eleanor, if you're in this now. If you're in it right now, you've got a couple options in places you can put your stop. You can put it under this pyramid here, or you can put it further away here. Okay, probably more highs short term. I mean, the 60-minute chart is still bullish, but again, I don't think I would go into this now if you're not into it. But I think you may have a few more highs coming before it corrects. Okay, so that's HWM, ORCL. And again, if you invest in stocks for the long term, chances are your stops are going to be fairly far back, so they keep you in during any short-term pullbacks or news events. However, if you're trading the markets more actively, then you have to pay attention to the technicals to get you out at a profit on the swings that you're trying to play that long-term investors really aren't trying to play, if that makes sense. All right, so in a case like this, even though at nice wave 4 pullback here, this this owl on the long-term chart is higher than this one, so we're still in a wave 3. Looks like green PTF. Looks like we may be coming back down for a little bit here, so we may be seeing some profit taking. Let's just see. We got a green PTF now on the 60-minute chart. So let's just take a look at this and see if we pull down here enough getting ready for the next leg up. Well, let's see, 1, 2, I'm going to hit this here. So we kind of pulled back enough there for that. And let me just readjust this. If we use this pullback point, you're still in the target. That might actually be a little better. Okay, so looks like we're smacking the target. We may be seeing a turnaround. Look at the pyramid starting to form here. See, it's blue in color. So it will confirm an entry when prices get above it, and it will turn green. And then your stop is under there. So this one, not quite ready, but boy, darn close. And with the green PTF over here, probably one more leg to the upside. PTF on this is saying we'll probably get around 130. We're at 105. So even though on the long-term chart, looks like we're kind of chasing it a little bit, we're actually getting in after a pullback here. So I'm going to put this on the watch list. It may even, Oracle may even be ready this in the next couple of days. All right, so if we want to look at that again. So again, I would go long on this if this pyramid turns green, and it will turn green at 106.93. So 106.93, and as you can see, we're pretty close. All right, that's Oracle. Let's take a look at DDOG. DDOG. All right, so this one we started drawing in the retracement lines last time. All right, and the PTF now is yellow, okay? So I'm going to remove this potential target zone here. All right, there's nothing knocking my socks off about this, okay? Is it going to make a new high? Well, there's not much data on it. So I can't get a clear, really clear Elliott wave count on it. So I would pass on this, okay? I think you can find a better one than this one. That's DDOG. AV. Take a look at that one. All right. So this one we looked at too. We were anticipating a pullback to the target. We got it. And now look, everything is turned green again here. So this looks like it may be getting ready for one more leg up. Let's see the potential on this. So I'm going to remove this. Let's draw in an extension. So you got a target of 148 to 169. We're at 125. You can put that stop right below this price bar here. So that's what, around one, actually it's 116. Give me a sec. 116.50. Okay, it says 116.05, but that's a little lower. All right, so about 116.50. So you're talking what, 9, little over 9 points, and 9 points above here. So to get a 2-to-1 risk to reward, you'd have to get in the upper area of this target. Okay, so I'm not so sure about that. Okay, it's a barely 2-to-1, but it has to get above here to be the 2-to-1. So I think I'd pass on this, okay? But I do think it's going to go up into the target. So if you're in it, again, if you're in it, let me know. All right, so Frank is saying he's having some speaker issues. So let me know if that is something that everybody else is having or something unique on Frank's end. Frank, you may want to log out and log in again if it's on your end, okay? I'm not sure. All right, let's see, Al, let's see what we got here. VK, and that's TX. VKTX. All right, so give me a second here. Lost my place, there it is, okay. So VTX, okay, so it looks like we're moving off its corrective bottom, and we looked at this before, so it just passed the area here, but still within the norm statistically of a correction. We've got a green PTF, so we're on our way up. Let's get a target on this right now. Let's open this bad boy up here. So impulsive wave here, it should be pretty easy to draw an extension on this one. Got 1, 2, this looks like a little lower here. So I draw in between 2, 3, and 4. All right, so we're hitting the target now, and that's on the daily. So that's kind of interesting. The target's a little lower because of the fact of a deeper pullback. We have a green PTF that supersedes the high. So the target is actually going to be at least in this area here because of this. So that's calling for a high here. So based on that information, that high is going to be right around what, around 25.57. So we're at 20.92. And again, you have to put your stop under here. So I would not initiate this trade. There's not enough risk to reward in it. But if you're long, I'd stay with it, Al. Okay, and I think you're long, right? So I'd stay with it and wait until that PTF turns yellow on the weekly chart. And then I would look to trail your stops up much closer, okay? All right, so let's keep going down here. All right, ag, how you doing, ag? Let's see what we got here. NCLH, NCLH. Okay, so, all right, green PTF indicating we should break out of this channel at some point. However, there's still some bearishness. You can see the pyramid and a red owl still on the 60, so it's not quite done. We do have a green PTF here, so that's kind of an agreement with the longer term chart as well. So here's my thing. Let's take a look at it next week, okay? Because I think it's got to settle down here a little bit more. And then let me just open up this weekly chart here. Not, okay, so decent, a little bit of history here. So if it breaks above here, then the next question is where it's going. Where is it going? And I can't really tell by looking at this chart. So if I can't really give a good idea on that time frame, I have to go to another time frame and see. All right. And again, all right, kind of a messy chart. I mean, you don't want to get into a chart like this. Like, look at this. Since 2022, it's been going sideways for the most part, up and down within a 5-point range. So that's not a stock you want to be stuck in, right? So the only chart that I could conceivably think that is any good is the 60-minute chart. So basically, you know, if you went long here in November, you would want to be out by now, and you'd have a short position, if anything, on. So I'm not going to recommend this one right now. I don't see much opportunity at this point on this one. Okay, so let's look at your next one, SOFI. All right, Sophie, we've looked at that before. All right, so Sophie here. All right, long-term chart, not a lot of history, goes back to 2021, maybe 2020, end of. All right, so where is this baby going? That's the question. You know, it's one thing to take an entry, is to get an entry. The next thing to think about is, well, where is my profit target? You know, if I'm going to be a technical swing trader, you have to have a profit target in order to see if the trade is worthwhile, right? So at best, based on the information I have in front of me, you know, at best, we could get up to 12 to 16. Now, if it gets to 16, that's double your money. All right, so that's not too bad. But it also reached up here darn close. So this becomes a head scratcher. Is it going to go back up into the target, or has it come close enough to the target? And if so, is it going to sell off from here? Let's see if the short-term time frames help us at all. All right, not too much, okay, and not too much. So that's a no-go, okay? All right. Oh, Tesla. Let's take a look. Roy, how you doing? Tesla, TSLA. Now, Tesla is always a stock. If we go back, you remember when Tesla first started coming about, and it was like, you know, single digits, right? And then everybody, you know, if you take a look at the weekly chart, this was fun, okay? If you take a look at the weekly chart here, notice if we go back to this period here, you know, it was really fairly inexpensive, right? Then all of a sudden it took off. Now, what people do is say, geez, if I just bought it here and held it here, I'd be a multimillionaire. Okay, that's fine. But the way we're built from a psychological standpoint is every time we usually get above a 20 to 50% return, our logical mind kicks in and says, I better take profits. So it's very hard for you to stay in a trade all the way up here without getting out of it during these pullbacks. All right, because you don't know, the fear sets in, you don't know if you're going to have a trend reversal, right? So this is the purpose of having the pyramids, okay? The pyramids are supposed to tell you how to set your stops and trail them up while the market is moving in order to take that stress out. And notice here, some other indicators are helpful too. So if you got in at 50, okay, your stop would have been here. You had some scaling out areas on all these to use. So you could have took out a good chunk of change on there. So the purpose of using a system is for it to help you manage your fear, basically, and to give you structure. All right, so we got some active pyramids down here. We still got a green PTF, so we're not done on Tesla. We'll get above 400 at some point, but let's take a look at the short-term time frames. They're bearish, okay? Bearish PTF, bearish owl. We got to move down. We got pyramids down on the short-term time frame. So at this particular point, and the way you use this, okay, look at this. See this move down? This is this move down. So it puts it under a microscope, which is kind of nice. So if you want to trade this move down and you don't have any entries on this time frame, you go to the lower time frame. That's how it works. All right. So this is still coming down. Will Tesla be a good buy at some point? Absolutely, but not now. All right. I think you can get a better price rate a little later. Okay. All right, Lowell, how are you doing? All right, KR. Let's take a look at old KR. All right, so I'm going to open up the long-term chart here. All right, so our target on this one is between 67 and 83, provided the correction is over. All right, so that is making an assumption here that this is the bottom. Now, if we hook one more time down, then we have to redraw this, okay? So let's see if it's worthwhile going in, all right? Do we have an active pyramid? No. Prices are above the base or flat part of the triangle, which voids it out. So if you've been short, okay, that's your stop out point. All right, so that's one thing. We have a red here, okay? Let's take a look. If this is a 3 top, and this is an A, and this is a B, we have a very short C. That's not good, because usually C is the same as A. Now, if, however, this is ABC, then perhaps, maybe, okay? So that's a head scratcher a little bit, right? I don't like head scratchers. All right, so let's take a look at this time frame here. All right, so you have green, you have red here. So I'm saying no, okay? I'm not convinced yet. I may be next week, but I'm not convinced yet that the bottom is in. And what I would do to prove this, all right, is I would not go in until we have an attack on the bottom. So let's have another pull down and see if the bottom holds. So if the attack coming down does not take out the bottom, and we have that, then we have higher highs and higher lows, and that's where you want to go in. So I would not go in now until we have some more information on this, okay? So that's KR. All right, INO. Let's take a look at that bad boy. All right, ooh. Now this one is a different story. All right, so basically look at the 60-minute chart. You're definitely chasing the market on this time frame. But look at this one. Maybe, but not so much on the weekly. So where is this going? Remember the target, okay? All right, PTF's not helping us on any one of these time frames, simply because, yes, it's green, but that's just showing that the price is 0.91. That's a high probability PTF price, okay? So prices should get above that, is what I'm trying to say. That's not enough for a trade. All right. However, let's just take a look and see what's cooking here. We've got a couple little things we can do here. What's significant to me is we now have a green owl on the weekly chart. So if we simply took retracements and drew them down, and yes, I know I didn't use the top, and I meant not to, all right, because of the way in which I draw these things. All right, we're looking at $11.21 to $17.91, and we're at 84 cents. Okay, that's a decent target. Even a shorter term target on this, and play real devil's advocate, is here, okay? 124 to 178. That's still not a bad return. Question is, you know, if you're trading this, where are you going to put your stop? And there's probably no options on this. So the stop would have to be way too far enough away to justify the trade. So if you're going to take this trade, it's got to be based off the long-term chart. Now, with that said, you're probably going to get a pullback here, okay? Let me even drop this down to that lower price bar. So you haven't really had a significant attack yet on the bottom, have you? So you'd probably be better off really if you waited for a little bit of a pullback and see if that bottom held. But from a technical standpoint, if you're going to trade it long term, you could go in now, all right? Because you're at the infancy. Look at the weekly chart on the far right. You're at the infancy of the big move up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put INO as a buy, only if it's a long-term trade. If it's a shorter term trade, I would wait for a pullback and see if the bottom holds, okay? And you could do that also for a long-term trade. But from a technical standpoint, you know, you could go in now. All the indicators are bullish enough to go in, okay? So that's not bad. So let's put INO as a buy. All right, Al is back. All right, let's see. S-O-U-N, S-O-U-N. All right, so let me just see. Okay, all short. Okay, so he's short on these, which means he's anticipating the market going down. All right, so he's short. I don't know where you got in, all right, but the PTF target is the low of the 60-minute red PTF, so that's $1.70, and you're at 179. So that is a PTF target, okay, on the 60-minute chart. Where is this going longer term? Okay, it's pretty tough to tell. Look at the daily chart, the one in the center, okay? There's not enough history on the weekly chart to help us that much. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line representing the bottom, give or take a little bit. All right, so, you know, there we are here. We got a red PTF here. So if this bottom holds, all right, the most this thing could probably come down to is 90, what is that, right? 93 cents? Yeah, 93 cents. So you're not talking, unless it takes out the bottom. All right, so there you have it. So I'm not going to recommend this for anybody, but I think you're going in the right direction. But if this PTF on the 60-minute chart turns yellow, I would probably take half of my position off, cover half, and then trail my stops on each price bar. Okay. All right, BRW. BRW. All right, similar thing. Got a red PTF here. Let's see where the target is on that red PTF. So that's $7.18. You're at $7.49. All right. So again, if the PTF this time on the 1 minute time, or not 1 minute, daily time frame turns yellow, okay, I would get out. Okay. BRW. All right. FCO. And I do not recommend these for anybody at this point. All right. These aren't viable short positions for most people. Okay. All right. So on this one here, these are really quick little scalp. I would call these scalp trades. All right. So these are, the low here is 5. You're at 523. See, the problem also on this is, okay, so we have a pretty good idea it's going there from a PTF standpoint. Now, if it takes out this low and keeps going down, that's great. All right. But you don't forget, you have to put your stop at a certain level. And so if the stop has to go above $6, you have 80 cents for the stop. But according to the PTF, you only have 20 cents of profit. So that's not worth it. So you got to expect a bigger move than just a PTF trade on this. And I don't have that kind of crystal ball with this baby. Okay. So, I mean, if anything, you maybe had a 3, 1, 2, 3. You could have a bottom here. Okay. So you got to be careful here. I would not recommend this. All right, and that is FCO. Let's take a look at PINE. All right, PINE short on this one. Okay, so this one, a little bit better viability on this one because A, you got PTFs across the board, all red. And you have a target, short-term target of $14.25, and we're at 16. And get this, a long-term target on this particular PTF of like around, let me just get that right, $7.74. So for a long-term short, this looks pretty good. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to go straight down there. So it's going to probably zig and zag to get down there. So you've got to be patient if you're going for the long term, because that's, you know, that's 100% return on a short trade. So not bad. You may want to start it out as a long-term trade, okay? Put your stop here. You still got a 2-to-1, I think, down to the target on the, so if your stop is here and your entry is here, that's 1 unit. This is 1 unit, 2 unit. So you'd have to probably, you don't have quite a 2-to-1 risk to reward with the stop there on the short-term trade. So your primary would want to be here, but if you get here, you may want to scale out a teeny bit, okay? So, you know, if you have a strict rule that you never take a trade unless you're 2-to-1 on the time frame, you really want to trade it, you shouldn't trade it, okay? So I'm not going to recommend it because it doesn't have the 2-to-1 in the short term. And in order to get down to here, that's a long hold, okay, on the short trade. All right, so that's PINE, okay. SAR. All right, so this one also is pretty good here, okay. So red PTFs across the board. The only thing you got to be careful is you've got a big price bar down, and it's very possible to get a retracement off this before it heads back down. All right, so we're kind of in this territory here. You got a red PTF here. You got red here, red here. Okay, so look how close you are on the long-term chart for one of these pyramids to turn. This one will turn red, indicating a short position, and this one will go away, that's pointing up. So what the software is doing, what the pyramids are doing, and this is kind of cool, okay? Let's just take a look at that weekly chart on the far right. So when you see back-to-back blue-colored pyramids, that is isolating the channel. So the top of the channel here is here, the bottom of the channel is here. The top of the channel is represented by the fractal pyramid to the upside here, and the bottom is the fractal pyramid to the downside. So it's basically bracketed this market for you. And if it breaks below here, this pyramid pointing up that's blue will disappear, and this one will get confirmed and turn red, and there's your entry. Boom. And with a red PTF, you're good to go. And probably if that happens, you're very close to having a red owl over there. So where's your target on this one? Well, the target's way down here. Okay, so that's 594. That's a huge risk to reward in your favor. So these are the trades I like. Okay, so this would be a long-term trade for me. Okay, the PTFs don't give you a risk to reward on the lower time frames. So I'm going to put SAR as a short trade, long-term. I like this one better than the other one, which is why I'm recommending it, because there's just a lot more space for this to head on down. So, you know, you could even put your stop up here, which I would recommend. Put it at the top. Give it some room because you might have a little more volatility. You know, PTF trades, just so you know something, this indicator has a 75% accuracy rate. But for trading purposes, in other words, eventually 75% of the time the PTF's right. The problem is where you put your stop. Because if you put your stop too close and you get stopped out and then it goes down, well, the PTF's right, but your trade failed. You see what I'm saying? So stop loss placement is everything. So put it always up as high as you can, provided your risk to reward is at least 2-to-1. And you can do this more accurate than I'm doing. I'm just drawing them in here, but you can see you've got the 2 to 1 here. So this is okay. All right, cool. All right, so that's SAR. We'll put that on a short, long-term short. Okay, long-term short. All right, let's go for your next one here. And that is NDLS. All right, these are shorts as well. And I don't like this one quite as much as I like the other one. So the PTF is saying we're going to go below here. But again, stop loss placement doesn't give you 2 to 1. Okay, so there's that. All right, thanks, Al. All right, so we got one out of that. Okay, SAR, I think I like the best. All right, so let's go to Ray on coin. Oh, coin. It is a crypto. And it's really, it's Coinbase. Okay, so it's really one that we are watching like a hawk, because look at it. It's pulled back. We needed that pullback. Remember I said, don't go in up here. Is it more risky to go here or here, right? And the answer is here. So you don't want to go chase a market. Now it's pulling back. And this is what I like to see. A couple things I want to see happen here before I get super excited about getting an entry. So right away, as soon as we're in the target, this goes on my watch list. Okay. So everybody should put this on their watch list. COIN. Now we got to pull the trigger. But the question is when. All right. First thing we want to do is how bullish is the overall cycle on this? Well, let's go to the weekly chart for that. And it's pretty bullish. Okay. Not so bad. So we've got green PTFs here and here. So we should work our way eventually up above the recent high of 187-ish. Okay. All right. So the question is, do we pull the trigger now or wait? Well, a couple things to answer that. One, look at the 60-minute chart. Red, red, still heading down. So more lows are coming. So this price bar today is not the bottom. So we certainly don't want to go in now. Once again, this is why I like to use 3 time frames. Also, too, knowing how my indicators work, is in order for this to be a decent 4, this has got to be red, and we're close, okay? So let's keep an eye on that and see if it goes red. If it goes red, the owl usually has statistically at least 4 bars, okay, in whatever color it changes to. Not always, but statistically it's at least 4 as a minimum. So once it goes red, it will probably remain red for a minimum of at least 3 other histogram bars, which represent 3 more price bars, right? Because each price bar generates its own histogram bar. So in a case like this, then I would hold off and wait for that to go back to the green. So in this case too, let's put this on a watch list and be thankful that it's pulling back, because the cryptos took off. We needed a pullback to rejoin it if you missed it, or to add on if you're going to still be with it, or if you got out of the initial move up, then you can add on again. Okay, so the idea is I love pullbacks. They're not a bad thing. They're an opportunity. So this could be setting up as a really good opportunity, right? Okay, so just wait a little bit longer. But again, the emphasis I want to make is when you have tools that give you the kind of information that allow you to make these decisions, you're going to be far better off, because that gives you structure. Okay. And so in this case here, the 60-minute chart on the far left says the pull down is not over yet. So we hold off. All right. Gene's telling me the speaker is A-OK. Okay. So Frank, I guess check that on your end. All right, Eleanor, let's see what else you got here. How you doing? All right, ELF. ELF. Okay, so zooming along. I don't know if you're in this or thinking about getting in. I would not get in now. All right, you're kind of chasing this. And we're probably, notice the hook. We got the hook here. So the hook usually comes at the end of a trade, and then you don't want to get eaten by the shark, right? Here's our shark. So you want to watch the hook, okay? Because the shark's going for the bait up here. All right, so you definitely don't want to jump in too late, right? All right, so you got a little more highs coming. The hook's not done to the upside yet. Let me just see exactly based off the daily chart, because the daily chart's giving us a nice way in which we can see how high this is going to go. All right, so there's my target. So if you are trading this, all right, I put my stop at the pyramid, and when you get into the target, I'd even trail the stops closer, okay? But don't go long yet, okay? It's too late. Don't go long now. Hopefully you're already long, all right? So that's ELF. NVO. All right, so NVO, let's see what that bad boy is telling us here. Okay, again, pretty strong out on the weekly chart. So that's got some legs here. But again, I would stay with this market. You've got even a nice PTF on the weekly chart if you've been in it for a long time. That puts the stop long term at a low of 95.73. If you're swing trading this to the upside, your stop would be at this pyramid here, which is 101.70. Okay, so you got bearish divergence. You don't want to enter this now. Okay, yeah, you probably get one more little brief high, but that's about it. Okay, all right, good. All right, Jim Blue, UNG. Take a look at old natural gas here. All right, so natural gas, all right, has sprung up. What I like about this now, check this out. All right, we had a red PTF before. Now it's changed to green. So now there's no reason for us not to look for a long trade here. So what we're anticipating now is that we have a major bottom. And that's the deal. So we want to be pretty aggressive and try to get in. Here's what I would do on this, okay? So this has got to go on a watch list. It's not ready yet, and I'll tell you why. All right, we've had an extended move up off its bottom. You can see that even on the 60-minute chart. Look at the number of pyramids. You could have traded this, all right, with your stop up here. But it's going to come down and correct at some point. It might go higher, a little higher before it does it. It may not be quite over, but we're kind of seeing a hook here, all right? And you can see the beginning of a hook here, probably a little bit higher, maybe $7, all right? But then you got to be careful. We'll have to redraw these because then it should retrace at least into here. Now, let's see if the move down, which will come, let's see if the bottom survives. Because if the bottom survives, then you'll get a move back up, okay? And because this is pretty long, it'll probably be something like this. You may get a pyramid in here and be able to go in. Worst case scenario, this comes down. If it goes right back up, then you go in. Because if that's the case, then the target on this is going to be pretty cool, all right? Now, I don't even think this could be a retracement at this point. I'll tell you why. I think this is coming up to being a major bottom. Because if we put this thing in perspective, look at this big move down. We just had another low, all right? So we're due for an incredible move to the upside. I don't even want to draw the fibs because it's going to be like $1,000, okay? Even if you drew the fibs in. So let's take a look and see short term what makes sense off this based on its recent move. And that may be something along the lines. Here, let me just remove this. It's confusing. Let me just draw a retracement here. So that is, you know, you're talking 11 to 15 bucks for a fairly conservative move up, okay? But if you wait for the pullback, then you're even going to get a better price and you'll be in good shape with the risk to reward. So UNG now has changed. Before it had the red PTF, Jim, now it's green. So we've got the green light to go green. Let's wait for the retracement and then hit it, okay? So UNG goes on the watch list. We need to look at that every week. And even if you're at home watching this with our tools, look at it every night, okay? Don't miss it. All right, Alexander, how are you? All right, NIO, okay? I think we looked at this already, I'm not sure. Let's look at it again. All right, we might have looked at it just last week. Okay, so move off the bottom. Here's what I'm talking about, okay? Let's just see, let me just run this over a horizontal line here, okay? Look at this, okay? So here's a situation of exactly what I'm talking about. All right, here's your move up. Here's your attack on the bottom. That's why you don't want to get in if you don't have to on that first move up, unless you get in early. If you can get in early and put your stop down here, that's great. But you don't want to do this, okay? You don't want to get way up here, because you have to survive the attack that usually comes. Now, sometimes the attack's in here, sometimes they go further. So if this is a new A wave up, you could have B wave. If this is a wave 1 up, you could have wave 2. Both of those, both B and wave 2, can retrace a lot more than the normal retracement percentages and still not invalidate the wave count that it's doing. So the question is this bottom going to hold? Right? Is it going to hold? And the question is that we don't know right now. All right. We're going to have to, we don't have the kind of crystal ball that can be that precise. Okay. It might go below the bottom by a couple ticks and then take off. But I can tell you from a technical standpoint is that if this is not the bottom, then the probabilities increase that the next one probably is. So you don't want to miss the opportunity to trade this to the long side. We just want to make sure, all right, that we do it in a smart way. And that's what the software is all about. So what I would do is let's wait for a turnaround and see if that bottom holds and look at it next week. Okay, I think you're going to need 5 price bars or so before we get another idea. So NIO, like UNG, we need to put on a watch list at this particular point. Not quite ready yet, but if that bottom holds, fine. If it doesn't hold, then you'll be thankful you didn't go in, and then you can wait for the new bottom. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at there. All right, Applied Materials, AMAT. Let's take a look at that bad boy. Okay, so we're already at the target, so I'm not going to recommend a long position here. Look at the weekly chart. We're already at the target. If you're in it, you can continue to hold it. You got a nice pyramid stop right below, fairly close to the target at 144.56. Okay, so could keep your stop there, but don't go in it now. Okay, ALRCX. All right, we're at the target now. All right, at this particular point, I would have my stop probably at this point. We've got a little bearish divergence. You still have a decent owl here, so you still could pop back into that. You kind of want to get out when it's done. So I probably at this particular point would put my stop, since I'm in the target, right below this price bar here at 423.24. Okay. And I'd get out. You're at the target. Okay, so that's LRCX, Microsoft, MSFT. All right, so here we are on Microsoft. All right, let's open up the weekly chart and take a good look at this. All right, so what's interesting is we have a higher owl now than we have here. So we really don't have bearish divergence between here and here, but you do have it inside 3. Okay, so we got to be a little careful here. So we can still probably draw fibs, extensions here someplace. Got to figure out where the best place to put these at. All right, so there, that's a bottom here. We went up here. Okay, so I am going to draw them right about here. Okay, so approximate target on Microsoft is 416.27 roughly to 540. In order to get those numbers precise, you need to really go in and make sure you anchor them at the right point. I'm just drawing them in real quick, so they're approximate. All right, so you got a green PTF, so we're still going up. So if you're long this, you want to hold it. All right, wait until you get to the target zone. All right, if the PTF turns yellow, really start to move those stops up close, like under the price bar, under yesterday's price bar. All right, and that's where I would do it. Green PTFs in the short term, so you're still going up. Too late to go long, but stay with the ride if you are. All right, NVIDIA. Okay, NVIDIA perking its way up here. If you're long here, you got, let me just see if these are exactly the same. You got a stop here on the long term at 450.10, so that one tick under 450.09. And this one is same. So your stop should be at 450.09. Now, I would keep the stop there because this is very close to going green. Let's see what happens with that. If it goes green and you get a little pullback, hopefully the stop will keep you in, okay? And then if you get one more surge, there's your hook. And if that goes green and then goes yellow, then ratchet your stops up close, okay? All right, let's take a look at gold. All right, so gold still got the green PTF over here, okay? So gold's been kind of an interesting situation here. So you had a wave 3 back here in 2011, right? All the way back. Long wave 4 ending here, multi-year wave 4 ending in 2016. Wave 5 did break the high. And this is very typical of wave 5. So wave 3 is very sharp. Wave 5 is kind of a meandering, not so great. Enthusiasm's not as great as wave 3, but eventually you do get above wave 3. And a lot of times you're saying, gee, how did I get above wave 3? It didn't seem that exciting like it did back when wave 3 formed. But that's what wave 5 is. But it's still a green PTF, so we're not done. My target on this is around 220, maybe to 240 before it's all done, okay? I think we're at a short-term target here, so we may see a little bit of a pullback, but it's profit-taking only, okay? I wouldn't go into it right now. All right, let's see, Alexander, M-A-R-A. Okay, so now you're coming down a little bit on this, but kind of expected. We're pretty much getting into an area where it should end pretty soon. Got a green PTF, staying green, got this green. I think probably, let me just see, draw this and see if the fib extension retracement here. Yeah, this is a very short-term one based on this move up here. So this is more of the one you're probably using if you're basing your trade on a daily chart. So I think you're okay to stay with this, but I don't think the pullback's done yet. So I wouldn't go into it. But if you're in it, I don't know where your stop is, but it needs to be low enough to stand this unless you use the 60-minute chart and got out on the pyramid up here. So I'm going to put MARA on a watch list because once this comes down and stops, then we kind of want to be long on this. All right. Now, long term, okay, same type of thing. We want to be long here. So we're probably in the midst of a correction that looks more impulsive on the lower time frames. Okay, so keep long. You got green PTFs across the board. Just got to survive the pullback. Okay. All right. Al's got one more here. PTSG. PTSG. Loading, loading, loading. Al, is that the right symbol? Did I type that in right? It's not coming up. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. All right. Boy, 19 cents. Okay. All right. Right away, a couple of things here. One is, look how spotty that market is on the daily chart. Really spotty. All right. That means low liquidity. I wouldn't mess with this. All right. But the weekly chart, okay, by the very nature that each price bar represents a full week, all right, you don't have the spottiness. You do have a situation, however, on the weekly chart where it looks like it may be basing, but you still have an active pyramid down here keeping you short. So I wouldn't do anything on this, okay? Okay. Frank saying audio is okay. Good, Frank. All right. Yeah, he's in Austria, so frozen lines. It's cold there, right? All right. Alexander, CELH. CELH. Okay. Yeah, this is one we've looked at, and our target on this is 73 to 76. And you can see here how it was a pullback, and then you see when the momentum comes back, you get the green pyramids. So you're good to go on this, okay? So let me just put this up here for you. Okay, so in a case like this, all right, what you kind of want to do here is if you're going to use your stop here, all right, then your risk to reward probably is okay. My only issue with this is trying to see if we've had enough of a correction. In other words, have we tried to attack the bottom? So we went up. Is that an attack? Or is it going to be more of like this before it goes? So that's why on these type of things here, if you can get the first pullback and then go long, then your stop can be way down here. And that will even most likely survive even a bigger pullback if you can get in early. If you get in late, you're kind of forced to use this pyramid here, right? So now you're not going to survive a big pullback. That's the only thing. But that's the pyramid you probably should use in order for your risk to reward to get you into the target, right? So it's kind of a little dicey, all right? Now, the PTF looks good. Everything looks good on this trade. Everything looks really good. You just got to be careful of that, okay? So I think probably I have high confidence we're going to hit that target. So you got a 3 here, okay, 3. You got a red owl here. You have to have a red owl for 4. And now you're going on to 5 with the green owl. You have to have bearish divergence, which you probably will get. All right, so I think it's pretty good. I'm going to put this as a buy, all right? It's a little late, but I'm going to do it, okay? And, you know, if you can put your stop low enough under this pyramid, then you're going to have to really get into that target zone to make it worth it. So probably I would use the pyramid, closest pyramid, so the risk reward rule is met, okay? All right, that's CELH. So that we'll put that on a buy list. All right, PSTG. I think we looked at that one already, but let's do it again. PSTG. All right, Sue. All right, red PTF here. All right, and kind of a bracketed market here. So probably wouldn't do anything with this owl, okay? No worries, okay? All right, let me see if there's any more. Boy, that was a great list. All right, so anybody else? We're almost on for an hour and 30 minutes. Let's see what we got. John. John is saying, tell me you held naughty gas. Let's take a look at naughty gas. So you're referring to this one, I think, John, right? I did not hold it overnight because that would have not been good for the day trading rules, right? So no, I had to get out before it got that late. So but yes, I did notice that. Okay, that eventually went up there. That's pretty funny. All right, so that's one we trade in the day trading room, and it's the natural gas futures market. All right, and John is in the day trading room, so he knows that. All right, good. RNG, okay, RNG. Let's take a look at RNG. I think we may have taken a look at this one, not sure. Okay, so RNG, I think this might have been from last week. I'm not sure. The only thing now is we got a red PTF on the 60 minutes. So if you're thinking about going in now, why don't you wait until that PTF is gone? I don't, it could be yellow, but the idea is you want that not to be red, okay? So if you're in it already, you got in it early, so your stop is low enough, you should survive any pullback based on that red PTF. But let's put this now back on a watch list for new people, all right, for next week, because once that red PTF's gone, yeah, it's a great trade again, okay, for new folks. Cool, huh? All right. All right. So let me just go over here some of the winners for today. All right. So we have ZIM. We have INO. That's going to be a long-term trade, though. We have SAR. That is a short long trade. And then we have CELH. That's a long trade. Now, on the watch list, so write these down. USO, bring these back next week. Oracle, ORCL, Coinbase, COIN, UNG, and NIO, MARA, MARA, and Ring, RNG. So those are the ones from this week. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just run over and take a look and put, before we close the room, we'll close it in a few minutes, but I'll put it on the day trading timeframes because those are fun to look at. And you can watch each price bar unfold during the day, and then we'll close the room. So let me go ahead and do that now. Okay, so give me a sec. And here's natural gas. Let's just thumb through and see. Some of the more popular ones that we trade is the Micro E-mini. Okay, so that's this one now. And the only thing different about this than what we looked at before are the time frames. So you've got the 5-minute replacing the weekly, you got the 1 minute replacing the daily, and the 15-second replacing the 60-minute, because these are what we're trying to do here is trade short-term intraday swings in the market. And so you basically trade it exactly like we would do position trading. The only difference is we change the time frames. All right, so that is the MES. This is the mini Dow futures. Nice short trade early in the morning, right? If you like this stuff, you should check out our day trading room. We have a lot of fun in there. And the M&Q. Notice the PTF on the 5-minute indicating more lows are coming. So that is something you want to pay attention to. Gold, look at gold. Ooh, gold's really coming down. All right, let's take a look at, here's Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin coming down today. Look at the pyramids, really nice job on that. All right, and then here's silver. Okay, silver coming down. And let's see what else we got. We got copper. So these are all ones that can be traded during the day. They have good liquidity, and we can look at the pyramids here. All right, so you go short, all right, and you got a red PTF. So if you're short again, you stay short, right? Okay, so we'll just leave that on here. All right, and I want to thank everybody for coming today. Great session today and great picks, okay? All right, so let's see here. All right, thank you, everybody, okay? I really enjoy doing this. I love trading with technicals. It's my passion, and it's just a great, I think it's the greatest career in the world. So, you know, I can't say anything more about it because it's just super, okay? Just love it. All right, and if you want to learn how to do this, all right, by coming here, you'll get an idea on how we trade from a technical standpoint. We don't use fundamentals, all right? It's all technical analysis. All our decisions are made for entries and exits based off the technicals and the software we use. All right, so have a great weekend. We'll be back here next week, and I'll put a little music on, but I'm going to have to close the room soon because we have been on for an hour and a half. All right, have a good one, everybody. Thanks so much.